Hi, Kim Avenue here. Um, for our Thursday Hangouts, I asked Richard Maude to come and join us and to talk to us about Cash FX. Now, Richard is very successful. He's already president, and I love to listen to him. He gives us so much important information. So I started off by asking Richard about what he was doing before he joined Cash FX.
I hated working for other people. I found that a lot of the people I was working for I didn't respect, and I felt the decisions were incorrect and a lot of things that they were doing. And I hated the commute. And even though I was making a lot of money, it was weird. I felt as if I wasn't making a lot of money. I felt that as I was making the money, it was going. And so I didn't realize at the time, but of course, I was selling my time for money, which is not smart. And if you look at any of the successful people around the world, you'll see that, invariably they're making money work for them, not the other way around. And for those of you that haven't, I always recommend reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because he talks about that very thing. You build up an income in a certain business and then you become an investor. So the money then ends up working for you, which is definitely the best way. And that's the great thing about network marketing, of course, is it gives you that opening to be able to create a passive income stream, which you really can't in other businesses. It always makes me smile because I've got friends that think what I do is dealing with broke people that are not successful and this kind of thing, when it couldn't be further from the truth. The people that we deal with in this business, regardless of their background, are people that become successful, and that's the great feature of this business, is it's a great leveler. But anyway, I was looking around for things, and I looked at traditional businesses and effectively saw out of the frying pan into the fire. So that didn't appeal to me, and I got introduced to network marketing quite by chance. I pretty well saw it straight away. I thought, wow, everyone's going to jump into this, and went into it with both feet and was absolutely terrible at it. Often people think that just because you've got a corporate background that it's a big advantage. Well, it really isn't. In fact, I was doing it completely wrong, and my first year I didn't really get anywhere. But I realized that people were making a lot of money in the industry, so I just started reading books on it and just learned what I needed to do to build a business. And I also had a very strong why, which is something that's really important. And my why was to get myself out of the corporate world. And that was really, really important to me. I was so excited about that prospect of being able to create passive income streams and that kind of thing. So it was worth putting the effort, and it really was. It was really tough in the early days because, of course, as a corporate sales director, I was working long hours with a commute, and then I was building my network marketing business on top of that. So I literally had no life for quite a few years until I actually managed to retire out of the corporate world. Now, I still work in the corporate world. I often work on as a consultant on a board, often in a marketing role and or a fundraising role. But I do that more because I want to rather than because I have to, which is a nice difference. And I also invest in startup companies and raise funds for projects as well. Currently working on a project at the moment with Jojo. He's someone obviously that can put a lot of money into a project. And that kind of thing. And that, by the way, is one of the special features of the business, the fact that you look at the caliber of people in the business. It's very successful business people are coming into this company because they can see that CFX is really special. But so I have multiple fingers in multiple pies, but network marketing is my passion. Because I love the model, the way you help other people become successful to become successful yourself. And it's been an interesting sort of progression over the years because I've been in product-based businesses. I was the number one in Europe with a product-based company called Melaleuca. I was the first executive director in Europe with that company, and I became sort of not, I started to lose belief in that business model because if you have a product-based business, you're having to sell a product, and people struggle to do that. And therefore, a lot of people weren't making money. and as a result, the attrition was very high. And it got to the point where I was introducing people to the concept, and I was thinking at the same time that, you know, they've got two hopes, Bob Hope and No Hope, of being successful. And that for me was not good. You know, if I'm going to refer someone to something, I want them to make money. So this again is where CFX is special, because of course when you refer someone, you know they're going to make money with the business. And you know, if we look at what's going on in the business, we've been in the business now 21 months. You know, you look at people like yourself and Hazel, and many other people in my business. You know, it is life-changing for people, and you know, also life-saving for people. I mean, the number of conversations I've had with people, successful business people. I mean, one chap I was speaking to a month ago, he built up 3 really successful businesses over 20 years, and over a 10-day period, thanks to the virus, all 3 collapsed on him. And you know, he said, thank goodness, you know, he was in CFX. You know, he's a director in the business and doing really well on a 100K pack. Just bought his wife a nice Range Rover as a result. So, you know, he said if it hadn't been for CFX, he'd be in a really dark place right now, because, you know, he would have lost everything. And that's, I think, something that I'd like to talk a little bit about actually today, is all about positioning. If you look historically, back in history, there's always been very famous people that have been extremely wealthy in each time frames. And what was it that made those people special? It was simply because they had the vision to see what was going to happen in the market around the world, and they positioned themselves ahead of that, and that's what made them very successful. So again, unfortunately, you know, as the world progresses and things change and that kind of thing, there are always winners and losers, but the losers are people that fail to adapt. The winners are people that see what's coming and then adapt and move into those particular markets. And it's always painful to see, you know, for example, if you look at where industries are dying, the way people try and hang on to that, you know, as if it's going to change. And of course it doesn't. I mean, a good example of that was when the miners, you know, that the market here in the UK collapsed, and therefore, you know, it was no longer viable, and a lot of miners, you know, hung on to that, whereas other people had already moved out of those markets. Now, thankfully, most of them have now moved out into other areas and stuff, but that's where you want to be. You want to be someone that is looking ahead and seeing what is happening with regard to the world's market. And we actually have right now an unprecedented opportunity. Often when times of recession, most people see that as a time of, you know, real problems and everything else, when the reality is recessions are what you really want, because there are times of huge opportunity to position yourself ahead. Again, if you look at people, for example, in property markets, you know, if you have a big recession and property prices have plummeted, when's the best time to buy? When the prices are low, so that when you come out of recession, happy days. So again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, he does exactly that. So if you look at CFX, now obviously right now we've got the virus, which is affecting people across the globe, and will probably continue to do so. People losing jobs and businesses. You know, the job market in itself is probably going to change, because of course a lot of companies have now realized, of course, that they can survive with probably a lot less staff, and also don't need offices and all sorts of things. So in this marketplace, there are going to be winners and losers. Again, some businesses are going to do very well, many others are not. The travel industry, for example, is one that is, you know, a real casualty right now. Again, same thing with restaurants and pubs, etc. So people are looking for ways of, you know, making money. And if you look historically, during times of recession, there's always, you know, network marketing has always done really well. As I said, it's quite funny. Thing about network marketing is a lot of people look down their nose at it. They don't really understand it. You know, if you talk to people, they say one of those things where people get people as if that's a bad thing. And it's hilarious. You know, I've got friends of mine that are business people that would never look at doing CFX, and yet their lives are miserable. They're selling their time for money. So this is the best business model I've ever seen. So again, it's just, we've got a product right now that is right for this market, a product that makes people money and also teaches people how to make money. Now we're about to move into phase 2, and the teaching side of the business is really, really important. It shouldn't be underestimated. It is a major part. The company's spending an absolute fortune on it. John Kinnear, who's my role, as you know, is the marketing director in CFX. He's working flat out on that at the moment, doing all sorts of marketing stuff with it. But this is going to be really important. The headquarters is going to be an important part of that. There's 150 classroom spaces at the head office, and we have to have the live training because that is all part of making it government accredited, which will be a first, I think, for any network marketing company in history to actually get government accreditation. So really, really good when we get that. It's also very much part of the legality of the business because that's what we'll be doing. We'll be selling that. The trading side will still be there, but separate. It is just a recommendation, and obviously people with the copy trading, setting up their own accounts there. So to have those two products in a market where people are looking, as I said, in times of recession, network marketing companies do very well because people sort of kind of wake up and smell the coffee that perhaps having just one business and or a job is not a particularly smart thing to do. If you lose your job, how long would you go without any income before you get into financial trouble? And the answer is often not very long at all. In fact, as the old joke thing, job is just over broke, too much month, the end of the money. All those comments are often the case that you hear with that. So that's one thing. But we also know that, how many people have pensions now? Very few. And this is a major issue. In the next 10, 20 years, there's going to be millions of people retiring, the baby boomers, without pensions or any proper means of income. And of course, the governments around the world are burying their head in the sand on this one because it's a major issue. But they're sort of, well, we're only in power for 4 years or whatever, so we'll leave that to future governments to worry about. But it is going to become a major issue. And the problem is, if people think that they're going to be able to get a job when they're in their 70s or 80s, think again, because again, Elon Musk is quoted just recently saying that he's extremely concerned the fact that there's going to be mass unemployment because of AI, artificial intelligence, and the robots and stuff are going to be taking a lot of jobs. In fact, they've just in the process of launching their latest, it's not a car, it's a lorry, which is basically it's a semi-truck, all electric, totally autonomous, will drive itself. So we're talking not very long before, for example, lorry drivers will, that market will no longer be there. It'll all be done by robots and that kind of thing. And there'll be so many other areas, jobs in factories, that kind of thing, that are going to be replaced. So as Elon Musk says, there's going to be potentially mass unemployment. So if you are someone in your 70s or whatever and hoping you're going to get a job, well, think again. It's not really going to happen for you in those kinds of markets. So again, to have a business that enables people to make money, particularly with their money staying in their control, and also educate people. Education, by the way, online education is one of the biggest growth markets in the world right now, is a very, very good place to be, particularly as, remember, we don't have any upfront or monthly fees. Monthly fees are what cause attrition in businesses. So we are very blessed to be in a business, and it's something both Jules and I said, if we hadn't have found CFX, I think we would have actually been really struggling now as well, because both our businesses outside, Jules is an online marketer. She's specialized in AdWords campaigns. Her businesses have dried up because, again, her customers are struggling. So she would have, so she's now, literally almost retired out of her business. So we feel very blessed to actually have a business that is, making us really good money in a market where so many people are struggling. So we are very lucky, everyone on this call. So that's one thing. So we're really positioned ahead. Now, another sort of thing perhaps I'd like to talk a little bit about is, again, due diligence. You'll hear me banging on about this again and again and again on many of my calls, but it is so important, guys. You know, if you are in a business, you have to have belief in that business. You know, when someone sets up a traditional business, do they have belief in it? Of course they do. You know, they have total belief. But in a network marketing arena, it's so easy to have doubts. And so I don't have doubts. One thing I'll always say is there's no guarantees in business. I can't guarantee you that CFX is going to be around in 6 and 12 months, but I'm confident enough to refer people because the due diligence stacks up and shows that it is very likely that it will be if you look at everything that's going on. Now, there are lots of people out there that will try and take your dream away from you. Often they do it very cynically because they just want to drive traffic to their websites to make money. And other people, I think, are just misguided. But the fact is, you're going to get a lot of rubbish out there written about CFX in the short term. And therefore, your due diligence is extremely important because if you don't have confidence in the business, two bad things will happen. One, you can end up leaving the business. But just as insidious is that if you don't have that 100% belief in it, you're not going to build a business. Okay, so it's going to affect your income as you move forward. And the key thing is this, that right now, the big opportunity is right now. Because if you build a team now, before we get the copy trading and everything else in place, then the bigger your team, the bigger your growth is going to be as we go into that phase. Because with that phase, I mean, your grandmother's going to be able to show the business and build a team. It's going to be so easy. Right now, we have to show people the due diligence and stuff, but with the copy trading, of course, we won't, because your money's not with CFX, your money's with the broker. And that kind of thing, and all the other things that's coming. By the way, just so you know, the company is currently is under audit by a reputable third-party company that is going through all the trades so that the company will be able to demonstrate categorically that all the trading that has been done up to date is 100% legit and above board. And the thing that again makes me smile about that is we already know this. I mean, the brokers confirmed on numerous occasions that the trading's real. And the thing about due diligence is that it's rare that you get a black and white answer, a definitive yes, that's correct or not. Usually you have to just make a judgment call, and usually it's option A, it's one thing, option B, it's another. So again, when we first heard from the brokers that not only the trading was real, but it was very good. There are two options there. Again, one as a regulated company. They are, if you know anything about regulation, they are highly restricted on what they can and cannot do. And if any of you have ever been an IFA or know an IFA, they will tell you that you can't just go out and start recommending stuff that isn't legit, because you're going to get into very serious trouble if you do that. So when you see a regulated company recommending CFX, remember, as the broker, they see everything. CFX are the traders. You need to go through a broker to trade the market. So CFX are the traders, but the broker holds the funds. When CFX makes a trade, the broker instigates the trade. So they can see exactly what CFX are doing. So for them to be publicly recommending CFX, that means option A or option B. Option A, as a regulated company, as the broker, they can see firsthand that CFX is genuine and are confident enough, even though they're regulated, to be able to recommend CFX. Or option B, the directors of the company have decided they like jail food, have decided to put themselves out of business and refer a company that they can see firsthand isn't trading. Now, option A and option B, which is the more likely? Of course, it's option A, isn't it? Is it possible option B? It could be. Very unlikely. Why would a company like that is sponsors of Sevilla Football Club, one of the top clubs in Europe, multi-regulated, they've gone through the hassle of being multi-regulated, not just one regulatory body, multiple regulatory bodies. Why would they do that? It would be, well, as I said, business suicide at best and potentially jail sentences at worst. So it is extremely unlikely that they would do that, isn't it? So again, we know the trading's real. Last month, we had a 30% return on the copy trading. Can't be faked. Okay, and yet there are people out there still talking about, oh, CFX is this, CFX is that. And of course, we mustn't forget that in 21 or 22 months, the company's paid out hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about that. Every weekend, how much do you reckon CFX are paying out? Millions and millions. It must be tens of millions of dollars every weekend, like clockwork. And yeah, sure, there's been a lot of people joining that week with $300 packs. So how's that going to work? How's CFX going to pay out that kind of money with only small, it's still a lot of money coming into the company, but certainly not enough to cover the payments going out. So again, little things like this that you've got to understand. The company's just launched their own payment processor. Why do that if they were thinking short term? Again, so many people don't realize that, that is a big deal. CFX have just launched their own PayPal. I'll say that again. CFX have just launched their own PayPal, their own payment processor. Okay, hugely expensive, huge amount of work. It's taken them over a year to get this to market. I was talking to Ron Pope. They had something ridiculous, like 50 engineers working behind the scenes, not just on that, but they're on many other aspects of the business. But imagine what that wage bill alone is for CFX. But why are they launching their own payment processor? It's to protect the company long term. LivePay was doing a perfectly fine job, but that's not the point. The point is, if you're going through a third-party payment processor and that company fails, or decides they don't want to deal with you, or worse still, runs off with all the money, which has happened, that would be a disaster. That would be the end of CFX. So the guys that run this company understand that they're thinking ahead. So that's why they've spent the money and the time and an effort to actually bring their own payment processor online, because it protects the company. It also streamlines other things in the business, certainly with regard to money coming in. It'll make it easier, less mistakes. And if there are mistakes, it can be fixed by a customer support team, not by the senior management in the business, as it was previously, because it had to be all done manually, which is incredibly slow and really not ideal. So again, it's going to streamline the business. But the main reason is to protect the company long term. So again, when you look at that, a company that is making a short-term game plan, why would they do that? It would make no sense at all. As I said, we're going to go into a phase in the next 6 months or so where it's going to be a no-brainer for people to take CFX very seriously. It'll be very easy for you to refer people. But in the meantime, it's really important, depending on what your goals are with CFX. You're obviously on this call, so you're obviously serious about the business. If you want to, you can change your financial future with CFX. In fact, your upline is a perfect example of that. Hazel, when she joined, 68-year-old grandmother, just a friend of mine. I had no expectation of her building a big business at all. She was just someone I knew. I thought she'd benefit from this business, so I recommended it to her. She came in, but she had a couple of things going for her. First and foremost, she had a very strong why. She wanted to buy an apartment near to her grandchildren, and that was what motivated her to go to work. She had no business experience, or certainly no network marketing experience, and she was, shall we say, there were rough edges when she started. I mean, she really didn't know what she was doing, but she kept on, she persisted, and she was just putting the messages out there. And when people were asking questions, she insisted that they go on the presentation. And she made me laugh because she was quite blunt with people. If someone hadn't seen the presentation, was asking a question, she told them to go away. She said, "You're wasting my time. Until you've seen the presentation, I'm not going to talk to you. Just go away." And so people were like, because of course people are expecting them to be sold to. When they heard that kind of attitude, they were like, "Oh, okay, maybe I should go and watch the presentation." And of course, they then started asking questions afterwards, which she didn't know how to answer, but that's where the upline came in. So she would ask me and I would answer those questions. And you now look at where she is in the business, 82 frontline. And I'm going to talk about the fast starts in a second, with 2,000 plus in her team, 100K pack, she's managed to buy that beautiful apartment, penthouse apartment near to her grandchildren. So she's fulfilled a goal and she has more goals moving forward. So this business is a great leveler. So first and foremost, when you're in CFX, make sure that you don't have any doubts. If you have doubts, you ain't going to be successful. Full stop. Ain't going to happen for you. Okay, because you're always going to pull your punches. Can't do that. You've got to commit. So, and really important, don't take my word for it. Okay, if I told you to jump off a cliff, you wouldn't do that, would you? It's really important you do your own due diligence on the project. And as I said, the thing about due diligence is you just have a look at the overview and then just sit back and think, what does that mean? What does it mean that CFX have launched their own payment processor? What does it mean that they have a beautiful headquarters that when they move in, they're going to be purchasing? And they've already spent a lot of money on it. You can see the videos on YouTube of the offices. They've already put all the glass partitioning in, that glass bank of screens. I don't know what that costs. That would have cost a lot of money. That's already there. They're already spending money on it. The rental alone is a lot. In fact, one of the videos I saw, the owner of the building that was there was talking about that one of the other tenants was paying $2.5 million a month for renting in that building. So it's not a cheap building. And by the way, Huascar, clever guy, very clever. He told me what he did, the deal he's done there. Basically, they're paying rent, but when they move in, they'll be buying the offices, but the cost will be less the rent. So he's done a very clever deal there. But again, very unusual for a headquarters, for a company rather, to buy their own headquarters this early on. Very few companies do that, not just in network marketing terms, anywhere. But as I said, we digress. But basically, you're looking at a business. If you go through every aspect of the business stacks up and everything they're doing. The fact that they've got the academy program, it's set up to be legal. Again, people often say to me, oh, Richard, we're not trading in Canada and the US. That's not good. And I'm like, no, that's completely good. Because why are we not trading there? Think about this. US market, massive. If CFX was a Ponzi, do you think they'd care about the authorities there? Of course not. They'd just be trading there. Big money. The plan isn't to be around that long anyway. They'd be off. So why aren't we trading there? It's because the plan is to be trading there legally. So currently we can't trade in the US and Canada because the broker is not licensed there. So they're getting a new broker for there. We also need the copy trading academy program to trade there. You've got to remember that the lawyers they're using are actually US based. They're Washington based company. The lead lawyer for that firm is the ex-lead litigator for the SEC. So again, what that person doesn't know about the laws in the US market isn't worth knowing, because they were the person that actually used to prosecute people. So the company's being advised by that company. Very expensive, of course. Again, more money being spent. So the company, and that's another thing to note, the company's spending all this money on the project. Again, a company that's thinking short term just wouldn't do that. So the due diligence very much stacks up on the business. So make sure that you've done your own due diligence and have that confidence. Next thing to understand is what you've got income-wise from the business. Because again, I believe a lot of people really don't understand what they've got. I mean, there are people actually leaving CFX for other companies. And I'm like, are you stupid? Particularly when you see those companies. I'm actually thinking about setting up a charity. And what I'm going to call it the Stupid Fund. So rather than people putting their money into these other things without any due diligence, and I'm telling you, I've looked at some of these things, and 5 minutes in, you can see that they're scams. Rather than losing their money there, they might as well just put it into a charity. I think it would be a much better thing for people to put their money into. But the fact is, I think people don't understand what they've got with CFX. A lot of people come in with $300, and because it's only $300, they actually forget about it. People must understand that $300 is an acorn that's going to grow into an oak. You've got to water it. You've got to look after it. Yeah, sure, it's going to be small growth initially, but over time, that's going to grow. Even as a passive member, let's say it takes you 5-6 years to get up to the 100K pack. Well, where else are you going to be able to do that? Compare that with a pension, for example. $300 a month for 40 years, it's $150,000 invested. to give you maybe a $20,000 a year income. I've got a pension here that's got £60,000 in it. I set it up when I was setting up a company a few years ago. So it's not a big, £60,000, but the document tells me that when the pension matures, it's going to be worth a whopping £1,000 a year to me. I don't know about you guys, but I can't live on £1,000 a year. Ridiculous. So again, if you look at what else is out there, what if you leave your money in the bank account? How much money are you going to make there? I've actually just put quite a bit of money into a super saver account, which is going to make me a whopping 0.1% a year before tax. Okay, crazy. Okay, so what other options out there? Can you come in with $300 and build up to $100,000 a year income in just 6 years for doing nothing other than just looking after your account? But as I said, a lot of people aren't looking after their account. Why? Because it's only $300. They're not thinking ahead. People have to think ahead. If you go to work in the business, you can come in with a small pack and get up to the 100K pack very quickly. And that's something we're seeing again and again and again. Myself, I joined CFX for $300. That was my risk. I did that for a very specific reason, because I wanted to show people you can start off small and build up to a big income. Got people now that came in with $300 that are earning tens of thousands of dollars a month thanks to CFX. So it is remarkable. In fact, I was just on a call just now. One of the guys in my team, John, he's a window cleaner, and it cost him £11,000 to set up his window cleaning business and 5 years of hard graft to build up a decent income. He joined CFX for $300, and 20 months later now he's on a 100K pack, making life-changing money. And again, he struggled initially, but he just treated the business like a real business and went out there. So let's just break down some things on the rewards plan. Obviously, the actual product itself, or one of the products, the trading side, you get up to 100K pack, that will pay you $3,500 at the moment, so roughly around $3,500 a week. Now think about that. How would that change most people's lives? $3,500 a week. And who can do that in CFX? Well, that's everyone. Every single one of you on this call, whether you go out there and build a business or not, you will get up to the 100K pack in time. Okay, just as long as you look after the account. If you obviously said if you're going to build a business, you can do it in a fraction of the time. Now, the other thing is when you're referring people to CFX, we have the fast start bonus. Now, the fast start bonus alone is life-changing. So again, just as an example, because I joined for $300, everyone I introduced came in with $300. Okay, that was one of the downsides of me coming in with a $300. People will do what you do. So if I come in at $10,000 pack, people would have come in with a bigger amount of bigger packs. But they all joined at $300. I think 2 people. Hazel was one of them. She came in with $1,000, and another chap joined at $2,000. But everyone else came in at just $300. Now, 7 of those people now are on 100K packs. So whenever they renew, that pays out $15,000. Now, on this call previous to this, I asked John how many customers he had as a window cleaner. And he said it's over 500 customers. So this gets back to what I'm saying. Most people come into a network marketing business, and as we're talking about CFX, in CFX's case, and they go, oh, I'm not sure I want to introduce people, or I'm going to just refer a few people or whatever. Now, that's fine. That's one of the beautiful things about CFX. Unlike any other business, if John had gone and spent £11,000 on his window cleaning business and did nothing, he'd have gone out of business, wouldn't he? That won't happen with CFX. You can come in with little as $300 and you can build up to a big income, as we discussed, by doing nothing. But imagine if you did what he did and go to work, treat it like a real business, and go out there and find 500 customers for CFX. Now, would that be easy? No, but was it easy for John to go out there and do that? If you start up any business out there, would a business survive if you had just 10 customers? No. I'm sure many of you on this call are business people. You know, how many customers do you have for your business? Invariably, it's going to be big numbers. So the point I'm trying to make here is that most people come into CFX. It is a business. It's a business that pays out ridiculous amounts of money if you go to work. 10 people introduced to CFX, when they get up to the 100K pack, that's going to be worth around $300,000 a year to you. How many businesses on planet Earth can pay you that kind of money for 10 customers? Okay. So this is why this business is incredibly exciting, because if you go to work, you know, even if you build a small team, it will be remarkable the sort of income you can make from the business longer term. But at the same time, you also have an unprecedented opportunity. If you go to work and treat it like a real business, you may have heard me talk about this because it's something I often say. In network marketing, we only have the carrot. In traditional business, you have the stick and the carrot. The carrot is you want to make money. The stick is if you don't go to work, you will go out of business. So as I said, if you've only got a handful of customers, what are you going to be doing? Your focus is going to be, I need to find customers. But in network marketing, you can get to the end of the week, and if you haven't done any work, that's okay. And as I said, particularly with CFX, you know, you're still going to make money. And that's one of the great features of this business. And it's great because you can refer people knowing that they're going to make money. So that's a key thing. But if you decide that you want to treat the business, you know, like a real business, imagine what you could earn if you did what John did with his window cleaning business. It might take you 5 years to introduce 500 people personally, but why not? If you go out and introduce 100 people to CFX, that would make you a millionaire on the front line. But imagine what will happen. You will find leaders that will go out there and build a big business for you. So it's up to you what you want to do with the business, but gets back to, first and foremost, knowing the business, understanding what you've got here, okay? Understanding that the business is the real deal. Understanding the potential from the income, from the rewards plan is huge. Then you need to look at yourself. Why are you in the business? How important is it to you? If you have a strong why, you will find the how. As I said, when I came out of the corporate world, my why was to get out of the corporate world. And that was a really, really important thing for me. So it drove me to work incredibly long hours. You know, Hazel, you know, she wanted her apartment. I think a very good motivator for people should be if you haven't got a decent pension or whatever. I mean, I'd be terrified if I didn't have, you know, option plan A, B, C, D, E, F. You know, I have multiple things. I have investments, I have all sorts of things. But so many people don't have that. If you don't have that, that would, if it was me, I'd be scared. I'd be thinking, oh my goodness, you know, how am I going to retire? So there's a strong motivator, isn't it? You know, so again, have that strong why. Once you have the strong why, then that will motivate you to then treat the business as if there's a very big stick. In other words, working really hard. You're motivated to go out there and make the money. And so when I came into CFX, you know, I was very motivated because I could see the potential, and I just went to work. And so my motivation was very much one of just excitement for the potential of the business income-wise. I didn't bring a big team across. In fact, I'd actually been out of the industry for 2 to 3 years before I came into CFX because I couldn't find anything I liked. Every time I did due diligence on it, it didn't stack up. So CFX was the first business that stacked up. Now, the irony about CFX, if you just look at the surface, it's very easy just to think of it as the same as any other company out there. But I was lucky to be shown by John, and John is a very switched on individual, and he understood the potential of the business. He's also got a strong trading background. So when he showed it to me, he showed me the key due diligence points that I appreciated. And then we did obviously a lot more from there, and everything stacked up and has continued to stack up even more and more as we move forward. So I was lucky to be shown by John. Perhaps if I'd been shown by someone else, I wouldn't have joined. But I did, and I came in ones and twos, and that's the key thing, guys. You know, it's very easy to look at the top of the mountain and go, gosh, that's a long way away. You know, I'm not even going to take the first step. But the fact is, how do you get to the top of a mountain? step at a time, isn't it? You break the journey down, you get down to base camp, you go to the next camp, and so on. Same thing with this business. If you talk to many of the successful people, Hazel, again, is another great example about it. You talk to her, she's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe where I've ended up, considering where I started. I didn't have a clue. I was just posting stuff online and just, following the system and that kind of thing. Ones and twos. She struggled initially. She introduced quite a few people, but she was struggling to find it. Then she found Kim, and you went executive Kim. You were her first executive, weren't you? But then she couldn't find someone else, but she kept on moving forward. Then she found someone else who also went executive, and so on and so forth. And now look at her. So it's that step-by-step process. It's amazing if you stick to the basics and just focus and activity. If you look at the top income earners in CFX, totally different people, different personalities, different backgrounds, different ages, different countries, you name it, completely different people. But they all have similar things in common. They see and understand what they've got with CFX. They all have a strong why, and then they've just gone to work. Activity. And the difference between this business and, for example, my corporate world job, I was working very hard in that as well, but every year I was starting all over again. In CFX, you're building a pile, aren't you, that's paying you again and again, which gets back to what I was saying about making money work for you, not the other way around. And that's what this business does. It enables people to do what a multi-millionaire can do in a traditional business, which very few people can do, because the pressures and the risks and everything associated with that kind of business, most people can't do that. In CFX, it's $300. That's what you can start off with, and you can build from there. And that's what makes this business incredibly special. And I'll just sort of finish off really, because in 3 years from now, there's going to be a big event somewhere around the world, and there's going to be thousands of people in the audience, and there's going to be people standing on the stage living the dream, making very silly money, the houses, the cars, the lifestyle, all of that. And the people in the audience will be going, wow, look at those guys, that's incredible. But someone's going to say, yeah, but they got in first. And my comment to that person will be absolutely correct. Getting in first in anything, guys, is a huge advantage, not just in network marketing, in business. When I invest in a startup company, what am I doing? I'm getting in first. I'm buying the shares for next to nothing with the plan they're going to be worth a lot of money in the future. So it's the same thing. If you come up with a business idea, the first person's always the ones that make the big money. Same thing with cryptos. People that bought Bitcoin for a penny, my goodness, they're laughing all the way to the bank now, aren't they? So getting in first is a big advantage. But what I would also comment is, the thing is, so did thousands of other people. Many people in that audience are people that also got in first. Well, how come they're there, not on the stage? Well, the difference is the people that got on the stage are people, as I said, they understood what they had with CFX. They saw the potential, and then they went to work, and they worked harder than they worked in anything else. And believe you me, they're not working anymore. They don't have to work anymore. If I wanted to stop working today, I could. My income would just continue to rise and rise and rise. My team is growing by around 15,000 people a month now. I can't stop that. That's just, the ball is just heading off. The snowball's rolling down the hill, getting bigger and bigger. I'll obviously continue to work because I love the business and I want to help people in the business, but I don't have to work anymore, really. That's just after just 20 months. So that's the thing. You put in that effort. It's a short blast for 1, 2, 3 years. Doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to the top of the mountain. You just want to get to the top of the mountain. So that consistent effort. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to hit times when you run out of leads. Okay, again, this is what most people do in network marketing. They run out of leads for their business and they go, oh, well, imagine doing that in a traditional business. Oh, I've run out of leads. Oh, well, never mind. It wouldn't happen, would it? You would go, right, how am I going to get my leads from? Where am I going to get them from? So when I went into network marketing, as I said, I blew my warm market. So I had to go into the cold market, people I didn't know. I didn't know where to start. I'd never done anything like that before. But I just started to think. I started doing things like leaflet drops, leaflets in doctors' waiting rooms. I joined breakfast business networking events. I used to purchase leads. I was investing in my business. Anything I could think of to be able to show people the business. We didn't have things like LinkedIn and Facebook and all these other things that you can work through these days. But don't just stop there. Look at other avenues. Treat the business as a real business. If you do that, go to work, then the sky is the limit for you. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, doesn't matter whether you're a nurse or a business owner or whatever, you can become successful in this business if you just follow the system and then go to work and activity. And people often think, you mentioned earlier that I've had a sales background, that having a sales background is a good thing. Well, not necessarily, because we're not selling in this business, remember. We're showing, we're inviting. We're professional inviters. That's your job. If you sell someone into the business, they ain't going to do anything. Okay, you don't want that. You want people that are looking. And guess what? Right now, as we move forward, you're going to see more and more people looking. So again, right place, right time. So as I said, just get out there, show, and you'll be amazed. Activity. You may, even if you're doing it not very well, it doesn't matter. It's the activity that counts. All right. So over to you, Kim. Is there anything else you'd like me to add or whatever?
Yeah, you said that you had some things that might happen in the future. You can share with us some of the things.
Yeah, I can't remember if I said some of this already, but the trading is going to be audited. And, that's a big thing. We're going to get a third-party verification on the trading because, even though the due diligence clearly shows that the trading is real, a lot of people still don't believe that. As I said, option A, option B, they choose option B. It's extremely unlikely, but there we go. So that will obviously really help us moving forwards. Timeframes on that, I know that the audit is right near the end. It's probably a week or two away from being completed. And then it's just a matter of when CFX will launch it. There are some additional things that unfortunately I can't talk about that are going on behind the scenes. Again, helped actually interestingly by Joe Jardinsa. He's helped instigate this thing. So I think they want to combine all that. So what timeframes that is, I'm not sure. What else is there? Yeah, I mean, there's also, there's things talking about licenses in Panama and that sort of thing. Again, I can't go into detail on that, but the company is working on that. And, that is expected to be resolved soon. There are other things, unfortunately, as I was thinking, I can't actually say some of the other stuff coming, but there's some major things coming that are going to be huge. We're going to be taking on additional brokers, which is another thing that's really important for the business. So we're not all our eggs in one basket. The Academy program is progressing really well. John has told me that, again, they're spending a lot of money on it, and John is working flat out as the marketing director on the marketing material. So again, that is very imminent. Same thing with the headquarters. That is going to be very imminent as well. And they had to have the headquarters to have because the aim is to have the Academy program government accredited. So they need the headquarters because, you need live trainings to have the accreditation. It's not just going to be online. There's going to be live training as well. So 150 people capacity at the headquarters to enable that to happen. And of course, copy trading. I estimate copy trading is going to be around 6 months yet, which is slight disappointment. But the reason that they are delaying it is because they want to bring on additional brokers. And there's going to be an additional beta test, but that will only be by around 20 select people. And they also want to launch it at the same time as another massive development that, again, I can't talk about. It's frustrating. But by the way, the same thing happens to me because John, he's the marketing director. He knows stuff that I don't know. And he says to me exactly the same thing. He says, Richard, I've got this, that, and the other that I'm working on that I can't show you. The new product is coming as well. So again, that's going to be huge. Again, I don't know anything about that, but of course it's going to add additional liquidity to the business. So, you know, but I mean, in the next few months, think about this. Copy trading can't be faked. People keep control of their money. As it's in a regulated account, their money is insured as well. Academy program, hopefully government accreditation. Imagine that. It's the first for any network marketing business worldwide. $2.5 million headquarters that people will be able to go and visit and see the operation firsthand, where there'll be the trading, the admin, and also the training there. The proof of trading, verified trading accounts. Well, you get the general gist. I mean, it's not going to be very difficult to show the business to people, is it, at the end of the day? I think what people balk is the fact that they've got to put their money through CFX, hence why we have to go through the due diligence. But with all those other things in place, then, you know, boy, it's going to be so much easier to show people the business. All right?
Yeah, that's one. I know for myself, Richard, unlike Hazel, I had been in a number of network marketing businesses before, starting with Amway many years ago. And I've lost count of the number I started in, but never really did much in them, you know, whereas Cash FX is something completely different. I mean, I just talk about it. I post. I copied Hazel to begin with, which is what you tend to do.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love Cash FX. I love what it's done for me. I mean, I was just laser focused initially on just getting to 100,000 contract. That was me, just wanted to get there. And now I'm just focusing on just building the team.
Have you got to the 100K?
I've been there since November, I told you.
Oh, yes, sorry. Well, there are so many people now getting to the 100K pack. That's fantastic. And it does make a big difference, doesn't it, when you hit the 100K pack?
It's almost a relief, Richard, getting there. He was like, oh, got there now what? Let's build the team, you know. But it's just, like you said, all I do is tell people about it. You know, if they don't want to know, they don't want to know. And I don't really beat myself up about it. I just push it out there. And people ask me, they come to me. And then we go from there, you know. And I've exhausted my warm market. I'm now starting other different marketing techniques and learning other things as well.
That's
but
it. I just stop you there. That's the key thing, guys. You know, there'll be lots of things that you don't know. But if you had a traditional business and there was an area that you were weak on, you just learn it, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You go, right, I need to know how to do this stuff. So again, you learn. You know, I often see online a lot of, you know, young people that are incredibly successful, making huge amounts of money because they're online marketers. I can guarantee you when they first started, they didn't have a clue, but they learned their trade and they learned it over a period of years and got better and better at it. And now they're making a lot of money. Everything, see, people often think just very short term. You know, if it's not happening now, oh, it's not going to happen. No, it's step at a time, you know. And so, you know, you've progressed tremendously. You're on a 100K pack, you know, and it makes such a difference, by the way, guys, when you get to the 100K pack, because up until the 100K pack, you're plowing back a lot of your profits you're making from your team and that kind of thing into the business. When you're on the 100K pack, of course, you no longer need to do that, because the pack itself is going to fund itself, plus the profit on top of that. So that means all the money you're making from your team, you get to keep. And particularly the second time round when you renew your pack, because then your percentage is back to zero. So you've got $200,000 on the bull and $200,000 on the bear. So you're making all that extra money. You just have to make sure you're funding, you know, being able to repurchase your 100K pack. Everything else you get to keep. That's why it's extraordinary. You know, people, they can't believe the income they're making. And these are many people that have been in network marketing like yourself for a long period of time, never really made any money. But now in CFX, it's like that's all changed. So it really is a great level of this business, and that's why I love it so much. And this is why you know, someone the other day just phoned me up and just said they've just gone director, and I know that they struggled over a period of time to get anywhere, but now they've got to director, and it's again consistent effort, and it's just always so gratifying to hear that, because you just know their life is now changed financially. And we're in a company that's set up to be around very long term. So that is really exciting. You know, we often as leaders, we rack our brains, where can the business go wrong? And, you know, yeah, maybe the trading could perhaps, you know, struggle in the future. But you look at everything else that they're doing and the way they're setting up the company, they're covering all the bases. So it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, and there's all those, like you said, Richard, all these people who don't really realize that they may have no job to go back to after this, when lockdown ends, So there's a hell of a lot of people going to be in a lot of issues, a lot of difficulties.
And that's it. And there's your why. There's a very strong why, isn't it? And a lot of people also may have actually realized that it's really nice not having to go to a job.
Yeah.
Really nice to be able to work from home. I mean, the thought of me having a job sends chills down my spine. Wow, horrible. So yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people out there that love their jobs, but I think there's a lot of people that hate their jobs as well. So that, again, for me, well, that was my why, wasn't it? To get out of the job. So there's another very good why that you can have.
Richard, do you have any time for a few questions, if anyone has any questions?
Yeah, sure.
So anyone has any questions out there, guys?
I was just going to ask if you could. We've got some prospects on the call, Richard, some new people, and some members that are very new, so they wouldn't know who Joe Jar is. So if you could just briefly, explain who he is, please.
Yeah, sure. Joe Jar is a member of CFX, like we all are. He joined back in December. He's an executive in the business and building his business hard. Joe Jar is an individual. He was born and raised in Coventry, and very, very poor background. Both his parents are illiterate, and he says that a good Christmas present for him was a Satsuma, which I have to say, well, I remember when he told me that actually sort of made me well up a bit, because I thought, my goodness, talk about a poor background, a total different to my own background. And so his school, his teachers told him he wouldn't amount to much, but he had a real driving passion. And he got into business very young when he was in his teens, became a multi-millionaire when he was 21. He's now one of the top entrepreneurs in the UK. His company, Athlone, turns over $23 billion a year. He lives in a beautiful house. Wentworth's got a beautiful house in the Channel Islands as well. Presumably he's got other houses around the world as well. And he is a real philanthropist. He fed 1 million people a year or so ago. And he realized that wasn't the way to do it. Just feeding people for a day is not the option. You want to, as the saying goes, if you feed a person a fish, you fed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you fed them for life. So he decided that he wanted to set up a brains trust where he's teaching people to have a billionaire mindset. And he saw CFX. And the interesting thing is, he wasn't approached to CFX. He approached us. He looked at the business model. And he thought, do you know what? Fantastic. 2 aspects: the training side, perfect for what he's doing, and also the trading side as well. He did a lot of due diligence on CFX at a level way beyond what I could do. He employed lawyers and specialists to look into the company. And as a result, as I said, he joined the business back in December of last year. He's not necessarily doing it for the money. I mean, he likes the money because he really likes money. I often talk to you about all the different ventures that he's in, stuff. He's working hard on blockchain and other major developments at the moment, investing very serious money. But he's doing it because he sees this as a fantastic business to give back. And that's what we're seeing in the business across the board, that people are having their lives changed with this amazing company. And we haven't seen anything yet. As we move into phase 2, it's just only going to accelerate. So he's a real asset for the business, and a real advocate. And he's been going on calls and stuff, sharing him. And if you haven't seen the interview, by the way, there is an interview on YouTube that you can watch, and you'll see he's an incredibly genuine guy. Really, a big part of what he does now is giving back, and that's what he's doing, significantly across the board. So, fantastic. But again, how many companies in this realm that have billionaires involved? So it's just a testament to the quality of this company. All right.
Yeah, I think there's a big thing about, I think we're going to have a lot more people as you go on, Luca, giving, sorry, Luca, my son, Richard, giving back as we become wealthier and wealthier.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I've lost you for a minute.
That's one of the great things. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the great features about the business is that you are actually, you are helping people when you're inviting them to come into the project. As I said, people often say to me, how much should they start? And I say, listen, just start with $300. That's absolutely fine, and you just build it from there. So people come in with what they can afford, really important. Even when we get the copy trading, by the way, guys, yes, the risk, from the business side, the fact that CFX has no access to your money, you keep control of your money, you have access to your money 24/7. The fact it's in a regulated account means that it's insured, etc. But there's still a risk, and we should always point that out to people because, of course, it is trading. And there's always going to be a risk with trading. The fact that we've got a 22-month, or by then a 25-month track record of success is a good indicator of the future, but it's not a guarantee. So again, people should always come in with what they can afford, and then it's up to them what they do from there. But I think you'll see that when we get the copy trading, most people, I think, will refer their friends and family. That's why it's going to really accelerate, and that's why you want to position yourself now, because obviously the bigger your team, the faster your business will grow. So if you're starting off ones and twos, that's great, and you'll see rapid growth from there. But if you've got 100 people in your organization, then you've got 100 people introducing people. So you're going to see that graph going up much faster. So you can position yourself ahead of that.
I was going to ask you, Richard, what dreams do you have now? I mean, you're earning a lot of money, you're investing, you're doing everything you wanted to do, but what's your big dream?
I have financial goals, obviously, and I'm looking at investing in various projects, including I'm one of the first things is real estate. We're buying a house that we really like. It's being built at the moment, and it'll be an amazing thing to be able to buy the house cash. So things like that, obviously, the business affords us. I'm really looking forward to traveling and everything else, because again, over recent years, we've been, just incredibly busy. And of course, with CFX, that hasn't changed. It's been incredibly busy. So we're looking to be able to travel more, obviously, hopefully when the virus and stuff settles down. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. And just being able to spend more time with the family and that kind of thing. Jules is really into her horses. So she's loving the fact that she's actually just retired out of her business now and is just being able to spend more time with her horse and stuff. I never see her. I'm a horse widow. But yeah, so it's things like that. Time freedom is really nice. When you have it. Unfortunately, as I said, right now because of the virus, you can't really utilize it much because you're sort of stuck, aren't we, indoors? But hopefully, as we come out of the other side of this, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's good. That's the thing that CashFX has given me is security. I know that if I get a big bill, we had a huge leak just before Christmas, and I knew I wouldn't have to worry about paying it because what roof's like. A roof repair is always a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah. But that was just, I didn't have to worry, and that's huge for me. And having kids as well, that everything's going to be okay. And I haven't achieved that. I worked for the airline for many years, and it was a secure job, but it doesn't pay. It pays a decent wage, but then you get when you leave, like I did about 8 years ago, I had to replace that income, and I didn't want another job. I became a therapist, and that doesn't pay a lot of money. But with this, it's made such a huge difference to our lives. And then it's going on about helping other people within the family, and then going out from there. And that's the big thing about CashFX. It just gives this, and anyone can do it, Richard, like you said.
And it's passive income. That's the thing, you see, because you're not selling your time for money. If you don't work this week, you're still going to get paid, aren't you?
Absolutely.
And that is very special. It's a bit like having a glass of beer, and every time you drink it, it then just fills up again.
Mm-hmm.
So That is an amazing feeling when you get that. You know that you're just going to make that money again and again and again. And that's why this business model is so special. And as I said, that's why it makes me laugh. You know, as I said, I've got friends that are doing well financially, but they've got no life. You know, they're stressed beyond belief. They're always chasing the next sale. It's horrible for them. And, you know, I mean, I don't actually tell them, you know, what's happening with me, because, you know, they probably wouldn't believe it. So, yeah, it is an amazing, amazing business, guys. So as I said, you know, it's really down to you what you want to get from the business. And by the way, whatever you decide is absolutely fine. If you want to just let it go passively, fine, absolutely fine. That's the lovely thing about CFX. You can do that. You know, if you want to earn a little bit of business money from the business, again, go out there and just refer a few people. But if your goal is to make a lot of money, and you know, don't think that you can't do that, because it doesn't matter who you are, you can, if you just sit back, think about why you're doing it, and go to work. Be prepared to get it wrong. Often see people, particularly business people, by the way, are particularly bad at this. You know, they go, well, you know, I want to make sure that I can do it perfectly before I go out there and refer people. No, that's not what you do. You go out there and you just go to work. Whether you get it wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the activity that counts. So it is a great leveler. It's completely there for you. And you can, if you want to, change your financial future forever, you know, if you're a leader. And again, I'll reiterate this. I've got people in my business that I've seen struggle, really struggle early on. You know, things haven't worked out for them, and they've had people flake on them. People have left their business and everything else, but they've just kept moving forwards. And now it's really happening for them. So, you know, that's the thing. Don't, you know, everyone has the same challenges. As Jim Rohn said, the same wind blows on all of us, but it's the set of the sail that determines where you end up. So be steadfast, understand, you know, do your due diligence so you know what business you've got, understand the income potential from the business, and then go and make it your own. Simple as that. All right.
Wonderful. So no new questions, anyone? So on that note, Richard, I'd like to thank you so much for
my pleasure.
joining us. It's been wonderful. As always, I love listening to you. And in the future, might get you back again, hopefully.
Well, of course, yeah, no problems. And, you know, I'm always happy to come on these kinds of calls. And again, as you guys all become, you know, leaders in your own right, you know, we can do other calls of that for your own teams and that kind of thing. So, you know, it's a team effort, isn't it? We're all here with the same purpose. And, you know, I'm always delighted to help the team as much as I possibly can. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard.
All right, my pleasure, guys. All right, take care.
Good night, God bless.